how are you connected to this land? Like, how do you feel connected to this land in particular?
I feel connected to the land in the way that the wind just blew and an idea comes into my mind. That's how I feel connected to the land. I feel connected to the land in that my ancestors, the things that they touched on this land, the things that they walked over in this land, I feel like those are physical steps and almost like philosophical steps. Like as they're working, what are they talking about? What are they thinking about? I feel like through me working land or me connecting with land, I'm picking those kind of thoughts back up, or I'm internalizing those kind of feelings, or I'm understanding something new about myself that maybe they thought about when they were also doing the same physical actions, somatic actions. My name is Danielle Freeman Jefferson, and I'm 24 years old. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, but I'm from Richmond. Both sides of my family are from Richmond or neighboring counties, so I would say my roots are from Richmond. My mom is Holly Ray Freeman. She's from Richmond, born and raised. My father is Lafayette Jefferson Jr. He is also from Richmond, born and raised. So I can trace my family back about 4 or 5 generations on each side. I'm not currently the holder of a lot of that historical information, but I have been through the research process. So we've been about that far with each one of my sides, paternal and maternal. And I think paternal, I can actually go back maybe further than that, because one of my cousins on my father's side, Loria, she's a documentarian. So that in and of itself, like we have a lot of information about those folks. And then about 5 generations on my mom's side.
You said that you're not really the keeper of a lot of that history, but are you interested in it? And if yes, why?
I am so interested in the information mostly because I want to understand myself more, and I feel like through understanding self, you understand your ancestors. So even like one time, Grandpa said I walk like a farmer, and that kind of like bug in my ear, and I was just like, okay, like I walk like a farmer. He was a farmer, his people were farmers, and so that's kind of like an ancestral craft. I have this idea of ancestral craft that your ancestors did something, and so the stuff that you're interested in is probably stuff that they were good at or mastered or really appreciated. So for example, I'm an artist. I like to embroider, and Grandma Freeman was a fabulous crochet artist, and that's part of the ancestral legacy that's really important to me. So I'm interested in dates because of historical context, but I'm more interested in personality, occupation, how do they feel about this, how do they feel about that, how do they spend their time, because that kind of tells you about what was valuable to them. And in this world where so many people are trying to tell me what's valuable to me, to go back to my ancestors and my ancestral ways and kind of sorting through all of this information, it's very helpful.
Danielle is an herbalist, and so we have started. Did you laugh when I said that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Are you an herbalist?
I mean, I know.
She's an herbalist.
I would say I know anybody that would just like, oh yeah, I'm an herbalist. Like some people like really are herbalists and have relationships with all
Danielle
these
knows
plants.
a lot about herbs.
I have a relationship with plants. I wouldn't say I'm an herbalist because that's just...
Danielle has a relationship with plants. So when I get a bee sting, for example, she'll tell me what to come get out of the garden, and it works. So we have, so Danielle will have to explain what the herbs are, but we have a whole apothecary over here.
Yeah, yeah. We have a like a color. It's more like a culinary garden right now.
It's a culinary garden.
So we have thyme, we have variegated sage, we have curry, we have tarragon, we have native yarrow, acacia. We have sage or more of salvia over there. We have mint. So we like the mint because it spreads. It kind of fills in the space, and there's a lot of wiregrass that we're fighting. My mom fights mostly.
Lavender.
Yeah, so we have lavender, we have mountain mint, we have calendula, we have basil. What is that? Lemon balm.
That's catnip that I just planted.
Yeah.
My cousin came over here the other day
Pine
and just got a
lilies.
whole bunch of herbs for her garden for her dinner. So that we're growing watermelons,
Yeah, sunflowers,
tomatoes,
tomatoes,
peppers, sweet potatoes, tomatoes with peaches in the front,
Yeah,
figs
peach
over
tree.
there,
big
blackberries, blueberries.
tree. Now we also have a whole bunch of honeysuckle in the front. We have an orange tangerine honeysuckle right there. We
I
have
made
a couple
honeysuckle
of
tea this
Yeah.
this summer.
So you talked about the comment about you walking like a farmer, the artistic connection. Are there any other threads that you see?
Yeah, so definitely the farming connection, but I think deeper than farming, it's an understanding and connection with plants. Because it's not just like the industrial agriculture or the production farming that was a survival tactic, but it's when we're planting a fruit tree, we build a basin around it with the dirt so that all of the water collects and the fruit tree can absorb more of the water. So it's a rainwater collection process, it's a climate sustainability process, but it's a process that my grandfather taught me when dealing with like planting trees. So yeah, it's about farming, but it's also about having a connection with plants and then being able to alchemize that connection to plants into canned foods. I'm not a cook, but I like the canning and I like the picking and stuff like that. Definitely what my mom said about using your shirt to kind of like collect fruits, berries, cherry tomatoes and stuff like that. I do that at work all the time. But yeah, through artistry, I think through like activism and protection of self and protection of land also. My grandfather coming from a space of like seeing people lose land in real time and then ensuring that his land was secured and protected for us to carry on. I'm learning a lot more about housing and about like social rights to deal with land access, and that you can kind of like, it goes a lot of different ways now, especially when you're talking about urban farming and, all of these very like black issues that are at the people's doorsteps now. But in that way, in my interests, I think a lot of my interests are just informed by my ancestors, and there might be some interests that I haven't even found yet. Dogwood trees, redbud trees. He now likes poplar a lot, so there are small poplar trees. There are also a lot of things that my mom likes. So we have hydrangeas, iris, and then we have some things that I like. So we have grapevines, roses. But mostly it's just the things that Grandpa was drawn to throughout the years that my mom has added a few pops of color to, and I've added a design like structure around. So all the stuff is super overgrown and all over the place right now, but that's okay because we are too. And every season, every year kind of brings a different energy. So this year we were growing, letting everything kind of grow up and see like what the land wanted to do. And then moving forward into the next couple of years, we're going to, organize, tidy up a little bit so we can start doing some cool stuff out here. But yeah, so this little patch is like one of our many pollinator patches. There's a huge magnolia in the middle, which is hilarious. There's also a nice grapevine back there. We have a lot of black-eyed Susans that just like volunteer pop up everywhere. So like they're all over the place. Lots of Japanese maples. Most of them are in this row right here, but they're also spread out. So we have this cute little pathway. This is a bay leaf, so like for cooking and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that I added in. I had a college job at a garden center, so I had a 50% discount on plants. When I graduated, I came with like everything. I loaded my entire car up with just plants. So you'll see a couple of like impulse buys from Danielle also. This right here is our native patch. So we have oak leaf hydrangea. You see a couple of like crepe myrtles and Japanese maples and stuff like that. But the things that we're putting into it are pretty much all native plants. The things that are here now, But we're putting into it is mostly native plants. I really enjoy working with clay, and I think that clay has a key role in something that I'm going to be doing. I really enjoy crafting. I enjoy woodworking. I enjoy using what you have to make something that you want. And I think that's just like the general ingenuity, the engineering kind of mindset that my family members have preserved until this point.
You talked about preservation of land and how you deem that to be extremely important, just given your grandfather's experience with loss of land. We're on your family's land right now. How are you connected to this land? Like, how do you feel connected to this land in particular?
I feel connected to the land in the way that the wind just blew and an idea comes into my mind. That's how I feel connected to the land. I feel connected to the land in that my ancestors, the things that they touched on this land, the things that they walked over in this land, I feel like those are physical steps and almost like philosophical steps. Like, as they're working, what are they talking about? What are they thinking about? I feel like through me working land or me connecting with land, I'm picking those kind of thoughts back up, or I'm internalizing those kind of feelings, or I'm understanding something new about myself that maybe they thought about when they were also doing the same physical actions, somatic actions. I mean, like, the land is my foundation. I feel like on both sides of my family, there are farmers, there's a livelihood, there's a relationship with the land. And in my own relationships with the land, I just feel like, you know, some people really like water. Some people love being in the air. I'm a land baby. Like, I'm an earth child. And that part of my identity, just like the core, the foundations of self, I think that everything that I could find out about myself in my life, that my ancestors have already found out about themselves, and they're giving that back to me through the land and through my working with the land.
You mentioned just even how, was it your grandmother, your great-grandmother great-grandmother,
Yeah,
who used to pick fruit and then hold it in her shirt or her apron, and you said you do that for work. What do you do for it?
So for work, I'm a community gardener, I guess. I'm a farm manager for the MLK Restorative Garden and for the Charles S. Gilpin Community Farm. So in that way, I am, of course, stewarding land, planting things, giving food away to community members, but also writing curriculum for youth development. So I'm working with middle schoolers to train them on how to be farmers and how to, you know, work with the lands, but also in that space learning about how to plant, like, best practices, which is all the things I'm learning from my grandfather and my ancestors, but also how to process foods. And when we're talking about canning, when we're talking about going to markets, what does that process look like? Because even when you're going back to Nigeria, Igbo spirituality, the marketplace is a place of exchange. It's a place of getting to know a broader community. And so what does that look like in the new, like, space that we're going over questions like that. We also talk about advocacy, history. The historical Jackson Ward is a big topic because we're in Gilpin and Mosby, and right now they're like, I'm Gilpin and I'm Mosby, but really it's all Jackson Ward. So going back to Richmond and, like, Richmond history and culture, and just kind of bringing that to the kids and letting them alchemize it themselves and see what comes out of it. So it's really a collaborative project between me and the kids, but that's what I do for work.
What makes you like a Richmonder?
Because you're from Richmond, you know. If you're from Southside, you're from Southside, Northside, like you're very much so from that part of Richmond. And it's a different experience growing up in Richmond. It is. But one of my, so Art Burton, he would say, you can call yourself a Richmonder if you've been here for 20 years, right? I'm coming up on, like, what, 13 or something like that. I don't know what makes me a Richmonder, but my family's from Richmond on both sides. They grew up across the street from each other. Like, I don't know what to tell you. My great-grandmother has stories about Churchill, but my grandma has stories about running through Boston Ave and go at Peace Q O Street. I'm still learning a lot about what it even means to be from Richmond and what it means to have roots in Richmond, but that's a non-negotiable fact to me. I went to San Francisco for a summer during college, and I almost tore myself up looking for some red clay. Like, I was not comfortable without my red clay. And it's like, I don't know, all the places that I've been in the world, like, Richmond is home. That's what it means to feel like I'm from Richmond, like Richmond is home, and it always will be home no matter where I go. I represent Richmond. This land is very much so, it's like, what do you call it when you're, like a train of thought? Just like a consciousness.
Stream of consciousness.
Yeah, stream of consciousness, like notepad. This is basically what the garden is. It's a stream of consciousness. That's how I like to think about it. There's eucalyptus, stream of consciousness.
If you had to use 3 words to describe your family, what would they be and why?
I wouldn't have said stoic if my mom didn't say it earlier, but now that she said that, I feel like that's a thing. But like a learned stoicism as a survival tactic. So I'm gonna work through that some more, but there's something about the way that you block out and centralize focus, but that's not just like a thing that you do today or for a month. It's a lifestyle and it's a survival, like it's a thing that you carry through every single thing. Well, I came up in a different space than my mom and my grandfather, so I would say the way that I've dealt with my family has been like there's been a distance. So I would say my family is kind of scattered, or not like a single unit, like a tree with many nodes or something like that. But I would also say my family is authentic, because I don't know, like nobody in my family is just like acting not like themselves, you know. They all very much so, for better and worse, like they're very much so themselves, and there's no time where anyone in my family is like trying to make themselves less. And so maybe my family was full of themselves in a good way, like just authentic. I don't know where that lands me. So maybe authentic, scattered, and centralized in focus. He said that since he's built this house, no white person has ever stepped foot in the house, like ever. And that to me is like, I don't know, like everybody's talking about like protecting your peace and stuff like that, but he actually did that. And it doesn't look like how people say it looks like, but for him, that's what it looks like. And for me to have that example of like, you know, have your own land, create a relationship with that land, and then communicate with that land on what is permissible and what is not. Like that's an agreement that he made with the house, with the land, with himself, that he was comfortable with, that space was comfortable with. So I don't know, just like having that example to me of what does it look like to protect your peace, and what does it look like as a person to figure out what it looks like for you. It's amazing. And I definitely feel like that extends to me and it extends past me. Previously, I thought that my family didn't really like adhere to the 7 generations past, 7 generations forward kind of rule that you're supposed to be thinking about, you know, supposed to have your tools and know about 7 generations past and then give for and prepare for 7 generations in the future. I didn't really think that my family did that, but like that was a very real example of him doing that, and even just like the preserving of this land. And that means something to me because that's like 3 generations, 4 more in front of me, that he was thinking about when saving this land.
I want to go back to that idea of like this learned stoicism as a survival tactic. Mm-hmm. And it is interesting as like, I feel like millennials, more Gen Zers are taking the time to unpack that. Have you seen that show up in your life? And are you unpacking that? Like, what does that look like for you to know that that was a survival tactic, to know that that was a means of survival? How are you navigating that? I think is the best question.
Think that as a younger person, I acted like that a lot. I didn't really bother to connect with anybody because to me it was like, why? When I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going. Like, why am I going to spend time talking to people that I don't need to be talking to? But somewhere in there, it's just like talking to people is fun, and building relationships with people is fun, and usually it takes you somewhere where you're not expecting to go. So I think that like through the and I'm working through that now, because I literally just came out of my mouth with that phrase. In my life, I have definitely learned to be more of ease and to be more noticing, be more mindful of any possible rejections of things that don't necessarily fit the standard. And now I think I'm at the point where I appreciate and bring in things that are outside of the standard and outside of the focus, because those things, living life, is the privilege that I have because my grandfather worked so hard, because he sacrificed that aspect of himself. And it's really easy for folks that are like, I guess, more stoic or more like centralized focus and had to learn that for survival. I guess it might be easier for them to reject certain parts of themselves or reject certain parts of other people because of mistakes that they might have made or are making. And I don't know, just different paths, even if it's not a mistake, just different paths. So like the path of an artist is not really uplifted in my family, but now I'm doing art for my job, and it's with farming, and it's with kids, and I'm getting paid, and it's Black people paying me. So it's like stoicism as a survival tactic, yes, useful, but there's so much more to life that now I have the privilege to expand. So accepting things that are outside of the realm of like the centralized focus where I'm going, that this is a survival tactic. Now I have the time to loosen myself up. Not everything has to be so utilitarian all the time. Something can just be pretty and texture. Little tip, if you're gonna get roses, get David Austin roses.
Why?
They cost a little bit more, but they are cultivated to be as amazing as the roses were back in the day. They were so fragrant and they were like so amazing. All the lore around roses, you see them nowadays, you're like, is this what they were talking about? It's not. David Austin roses are closer to the roses that all of these stories come from. They smell amazing. You just walk past them and it wafts and they smell different. They smell perfumey.